Lucas, have you
Yes.
ever experienced something so bad that everyone loved, right? Everyone loves you doing this thing, but you hate it, right? And you say to the world that you'd rather slit your wrist than do that thing again, but then you come back and do it again. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes. I have, and it's called Daniel Craig's career. Uh, it's a very bumpy road, but I
Yeah.
mean, he's given us some amazing performances.
I know, despite hating himself the entire time, which I don't know why. Daniel Craig,
Yeah.
you're fantastic. But yes,
You are.
welcome everyone to a podcast now, episode 20, the big 2-0. That's a huge celebration. I didn't think we would do it for 20 weeks running. That's amazing.
No, 20 weeks. That's like almost half a year.
I know.
I think 21 was
Yeah,
half
we're going to
a
do
year.
a bit, what? 20,
Or 26.
26. We'll do a big half year celebration.
Yeah.
But no, today we're talking about the new Daniel Craig James Bond movie, the finale, No Time to Die. I'm your host, Lachlan Rodwell, and I'm joined by someone who, what's a James Bond reference I could do? Someone
He's
who
probably-
keeps changing his appearance every 20 years or so, Lucas Boreham.
Yeah, I do. It's, this disorder I have, I think it's called bipolar, where I just, I'm two people, One day I'm just an old man who has, he owns like a landscaping business. And then the other day I'm just, a 22-year-old.
Well, that sounds like a Benjamin Button situation where you're Brad Pitt aging backwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's not talk about that awful movie.
No.
Because, yes, we got No Time to Die, but first we got to get into some news. Big news. We're a little late, so two things. Firstly, Spider-Man No Way Home. We can't wait. The trailer, the second trailer comes out tomorrow, so we've missed
So
it.
excited. So excited.
By the time you see this episode, the trailer's probably already going to be out. But oh well, there's nothing we can do. And yeah, that's going to be very exciting. I just want to play bets right now. Do you think in the second trailer they show Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, or do they not?
I reckon they will show, you will hear them.
Right. Or maybe
And-
see a shoe, or you'll...
Yeah, you'll
they'll
see
hint.
all their hands going in together, or
Yeah.
they'll all shoot webs in
Yeah.
a triangle. Be like, yeah,
They'll just
you know
start
how you put your
jerking
hands
each
in.
other off, in
That's
a
exactly
circle.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, a circle jerk. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
But no, something along those
So
lines.
you think they'll hint at them being in the movie, but they won't show it?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think they will show a body part of both of them, or even in trailers they always show the introduction of the character, because they have the music coming up and then it kind of drops and it goes all silent,
Yes.
and then you'll hear Tobey Maguire or Andrew
They'll...
Garfield's voice.
See, I don't even know if they'll do that. I think...
Really?
It's interesting because behind the scenes, Marvel Studios is trying to tell Sony to not reveal anything, right? Because if you look at Avengers Endgame, right, that had barely any footage in the trailers. It barely
true.
hinted at anything, and they barely marketed it, and it became the biggest movie of all time, right? Whereas Sony in the past has gone through with say the
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man series, it was literally they shoved everything in the trailer, or even the previous Spider-Man: Homecoming and Far From Home, they just shoved everything in the trailer to get you to see the movie.
And I hate that. I absolutely despise trailers like that, because again, they just ruin the experience for you. You see all the lovely locations, you see what's going on, you get a general gist for the film, but
Don't
it kind of almost
reveal
ruins.
spoilers and that. Imagine if your first time seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield return is in a theater. That's
Oh my God,
that's perfection.
that's what we want.
Now
That is what
imagine
we want.
instead your first time seeing them return is on your phone screen on a bus.
Sat in a fucking basement on your laptop, and you're just
Yeah. Whoa, that's so cool. It's
is that Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's just not the same, right? So, but we'll see when they reveal the trailer tomorrow who won. Did Sony win and say, yeah, we're revealing everything, here we go? Or did Marvel win and say, no, don't do this, Sony, please don't.
Stop it now.
We'll see. But some more news. Disney Plus Day was, I think, last Friday.
There's a day?
Disney Plus Day. Yeah, it was a whole day.
Is it a holiday?
Yeah, everyone gets Disney Plus free for one day.
Whoa.
No, I think it was like you got like the first month for $1 or something. I don't know,
That's
something
not bad.
ridiculous. But they revealed a bunch. So we saw a bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we see there's going to be Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader, and we're going to see them, and of course Ewan McGregor. We're going to see a bit of shit happening there. That's going to be fantastic.
I'm excited.
And then other than that, Star Wars, that was the only thing they kind of revealed. They didn't reveal anything else. We have a Boba Fett show coming later this year.
Yes.
Mandalorian season 3.
Yes,
but outside of that,
good.
they only did Obi-Wan.
We want more visions.
Yes. Fuck it, just do it. Like, do like a live action Visions where you just say, look, this is set separately and you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Or just, something along the lines of another Mandalorian, adventure like that. Because, I mean, it's such a huge universe. You can do so much with it.
Yeah, it's always set around this one single family. So branch out.
Skywalker.
Come on.
It's like, no one gives a shit.
But at the same time, Obi-Wan looks sick. Like, just the idea
100%.
of it. So
like,
good.
I'm happy for that. Like, I've been wanting Ewan McGregor to be Obi-Wan Kenobi again because he nailed it. Like, he's a meme. Like, he's a meme to this day, not because it's terrible, but because it's like, hello there, it's amazing. And I can't wait to see more of that.
But then Marvel had even bigger announcements. So firstly, we saw our first looks at Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel. They all look good. But, I mean, Moon Knight is the one. Oscar Isaac playing essentially... Marvel hates calling him this, but it's essentially Marvel's Batman. Except insane. Like, with a multiple personality disorder. So...
Oh, lovely.
And Oscar Isaac playing the lead. Moon Knight is going to be sick.
I'm excited.
Marvel's Batman. And then everything else is fine. But I'll get into the big stuff, right? So firstly, this is the first...
the big stuff.
Even bigger. The first hint of Marvel, their, use of the X-Men is happening in that they're reviving the show from the 90s, the animated TV show from the 90s.
No way.
They're bringing it back for another season.
Oh my god!
And it's like Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios is making it. It's not going to be set in the MCU, but it's Marvel Studios making it. Like Kevin Feige will be involved in bringing this back to life.
Quality's up there. That's what what the Marvel, Sigma or whatever it is, the logo means nowadays is just good quality. I mean, we saw in this Eternals movie that we talked about last week, like the quality and the CG and the cinematography was like outstanding. It's just the writings.
Now, they're doing a few animated shows. The other one is they're doing Marvel Zombies as a proper animated TV show. So it's unsure if it's connected to What If or if it's going to be a new take on Marvel Zombies, because the What If episode is very different to the Marvel Zombies in the comics. But either way, we're getting an animated zombie TV show. Are you excited for that at all after What If, or not really?
I'm kind of, the way the What If zombie episode ended was great. Like, it's wonderful. It tied into, all the other episodes great with, what was it? The German computer guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But how that ended, that was great. But, I mean, like, we've seen everything with zombies. We've seen
you're now
how
getting
zombies
a whole
act.
season. So,
like,
they must have something up their sleeve.
I guess it was cool seeing, obviously, a Captain America as a zombie, Iron Man as a zombie, Doctor Strange as a zombie, I think.
Yeah.
But, if they can just do what they can do, it's like...
Yeah.
What else?
I know, it's iffy. And,
it's iffy.
What if in general was a bit iffy, so we'll see if they nail it or not. But, more branching out and doing new things is cool. So the fact that they're doing a whole Marvel Zombie season is cool.
100%, yeah.
And they're really doubling down on animation, or tripling down, I should say, because this is the announcement I wanted to talk about, which is crazy to me. So we're getting an animated Spider-Man TV show set in the MCU dealing with the origin story of this version of Spider-Man.
Yes. I mean, well, what was the first Spider-Man in the MCU? It was
Homecoming.
Homecoming. That's right. They all have home in it, and I'm like,
It gets confusing.
It gets confusing. But it was a great film. But then again, like you are kind of like just not really told much about where this Peter Parker's come from, what he's had to deal with. So that would be really, really, really good.
Like, it makes sense at the time why they didn't do the origin story again. But now it's been some time, and maybe, and the fact that they want to tell the story means they must have an idea of how to do it differently. But what's so interesting about this is that Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man. So then the question is, well, how is Disney getting away with this?
Yeah.
The answer is that Sony owns the film rights, but they don't own any of the other rights. So Disney's been making Spider-Man TV shows for ages, right? It's just this is the first one that they're setting in the MCU because they own the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so they can do this. It's just
they can do whatever they want.
They just can't do like a live action TV show because then it's Tom Holland's version of the character, which is Sony owns, right? But this animated version is likely not going to be played by Tom Holland, but still, it's Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So they've kind of gone around and cheated the system to get a Spider-Man show, and I think that's funny and fantastic.
That's great. Oh yeah, to be honest, fuck Sony.
Yeah, Marvel knows what they're doing with Spider-Man a lot more than Sony does. Yes, the original Spider-Man trilogy was great, but I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and also what they're doing now with Venom and Morbius, like, it's just like, come on.
It's hard. It's hard to compete with Marvel, but they're just like from the start that Sony is just not going to be there. That's why they're kind of
they don't really care. Like they just want to make money. Whereas
they don't. They just don't have the capacity, or not the capacity, but just like they don't care as much as
the
Marvel.
people behind the scenes aren't as big of fans as like someone like Kevin Feige, right?
Yes, that's
like
right.
The equivalents over there are kind of more like they see Spider-Man as a way to make money, so they kind of abuse Spider-Man in that way. But I think it's just incredible that Disney is getting a Spider-Man show set in the MCU, and they can and it's an origin story. It's going to be weird to see like, this version of the character. How did he actually become Spider-Man? We genuinely don't know. We don't know like what was his story into becoming a hero. How did he learn great power comes great responsibility? How did he actually go through? Yeah.
Who was this person? We don't know.
It's going to be great to see. So that's called Spider-Man Freshman Year. I'm surprised they didn't go with another home-themed title. I don't know why, but anyway, it's called Spider-Man Freshman Year. So look forward to that coming soon. And that was Disney Plus Day. So overall, I think, Marvel is going hard into Disney Plus and doing these TV shows. Some look really interesting, but, I think they run the risk of oversaturating the already very saturated superhero space. That's the one kind of issue they're going to run into.
It's getting a lot there's just getting so repetitive these days with all this superhero shit. It's like, God, to think about how much money is spent on superheroes. Yeah. It was honestly a breath of fresh air to watch, a James Bond movie just because the expectations are just, this is like a smart, trained agent. There's no, he's super strong, or he shoots webs from his arms. Like, this is just chill, and
it's just classic cinema.
Classic cinema. So,
Yes, but we must move on to talk about Daniel Craig's final outing as the man himself, James Bond, in No Time to Die. This movie was hit hard by the pandemic. It was probably the movie hit hardest by the pandemic because it was originally supposed to come out exactly when everything started going to shit. They spent their full marketing budget marketing this movie. It was like Daniel Craig was on SNL and all the late night shows saying I can't wait for James Bond. And then the movie was delayed until, God knows when. It's finally come back. They've redone the marketing budget to get everyone hyped for this movie. Came out in the United States a month ago. Australia just got it last week. And now we can finally talk about it. And what are your thoughts?
Honestly, it was a great finale. And I think, just getting back to the roots, seeing Felix, fucking so glad they brought him back because I loved him in Casino Royale, and I don't think he was in any other, or he was a bit.
He was in Quantum,
throughout.
but he wasn't in anything else.
Yeah, but I love that they had him back because honestly, he was great. Well, not for long even. That was pretty sad. But
nothing.
Spoilers.
No,
Spoilers.
No. It's fine. You don't know what happens to him.
Yeah.
But
he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. Don't worry. We'll try to keep the start spoiler free.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so this movie is interesting in a lot of ways because this is the first Bond series that actually has had a story. It's had a start, middle, and end now. It has a continuity. None of the other Bond movies really care. It's just another adventure with James Bond. Whereas Daniel Craig's has very much been, no, we're going to tell the story of James Bond becoming James Bond. And it's really interesting. And I think this movie has a lot of baggage to deal with off the back of Spectre. And it deals with it really well. It ties it up very neatly and kind of serves as a bit of an epilogue to Spectre. And then it serves as a finale for James Bond himself. Right? Yeah. Which is very interesting and smart decision to do off the back of Spectre. Because Spectre is just boring at the end of the day, I think is the word I'd use. Yeah. And what Spectre was trying to do was deliver the, quintessential Bond movie for Daniel Craig, right? We've seen, this version of James Bond kind of shy away from a lot of the tropes of James Bond. So let's kind of build him towards a more traditional Bond movie. And Spectre was supposed to be that traditional Bond movie to send Daniel Craig off on his way. And it just fell flat because it was we've seen this a million times. It didn't really do anything new. It was boring at the end of the day. And it kind of felt like a wet fart for Daniel Craig, So picking up the torch from that is a tough ask.
It is. And I mean, he picks it up well, not going to lie. His acting in this is probably the best I've seen in any James Bond film.
Good.
Just his emotion, in multiple scenes, just were amazing. Because he has to deal with a fuck ton of emotions in this movie.
This movie has so much going on for James Bond himself. It's got a big, end of the world type plot surrounding it.
Oh, yeah.
But for James Bond himself, he deals with so much. And you actually see him be vulnerable for once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Kind of leads into the fact that, this movie feels so fresh in so many ways while giving you that traditional Bond movie. Right, so it's traditional in the sense it gives you, the secret layer, and now James Bond has all of his gadgets, he's got a watch, a gadget watch. It gives you the proper spy car. It gives you all the quintessential James Bond things that you've always wanted to see for Daniel Craig's version because they've kind of been missing that in the past, right? Yeah. So it gives you this very traditional Bond, especially with the secret layer and having this technology-based world-ending weapon. That is very quintessential Bond. And if you've seen any of the Austin Powers movies, it's what they parody, right? That is very Bond. And it's weird because I didn't think we'd get that with Daniel Craig, but we did, right? But then in addition, they do so many new things. We see I'll actually save it for Spoiler Town. But we just see a lot of things are fresh in this movie. The action sequences are so fresh. They do a one shot, a one take action sequence. That's phenomenal.
Yes, that was amazing. I remember just sitting in the cinema, being glued to the screen, literally glued to the screen. The action was amazing.
Yeah,
amazing and so good.
The cinematography felt very different to the previous Bond movies. I think Skyfall and Spectre definitely tried to elevate it. But those movies look very clean, like pristine, whereas this kind of has a more raw feel to it. And it just like the camera feels very dynamic in the movie. And one of the things I love is that they hold on shots for like long periods of time. It's not just like cut to pieces. It's like, no, let's hold on this. Like
fucking Quantum of Solace was just like,
it was just
cut.
Yeah.
Like this felt amazing. And even from the start, like just from the start scenes and how like it explains this story and this past and then goes to, present was like spectacular. It was honestly wonderful. And you knew like it, honestly, there were some parts I will talk to you that kind of confused me.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was pretty like easy to follow.
Yeah, what I would say is like the parts that kind of start breaking down are when you get into the real like when it gets into the story of like the world ending part and the villain's motivations and even just the villain himself.
Yeah,
that part starts to fall apart. But when it's focusing on James Bond as a character. And it sells everything, and it leaves you on the edge of the seat until the final moments of the movie.
Oh yeah,
it's great. So I think that's enough non-spoiler talk. It is such a good send-off for Daniel Craig.
10 out of 10.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's good that Daniel Craig got a Bond movie to send him off. That was actually good.
His send-off was pretty good.
Yeah,
his send-off was pretty good.
Much better than sending him off in Spectre, which was what they were originally going to do.
He didn't get sent off.
Yeah, where he just drives off with his new love interest, into the sunset. Nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
This gives a much better ending for the character.
Yeah, I agree.
So now, do you want to get into some spoilers?
Yeah. Where's spoilers?
Spoilers?
Yeah, spoilers. All right. First of all,
yes,
let's talk about not Daniel Craig, James Bond.
James Bond.
And James Bond, well, 007. Because, so there was James Bond... Commander Bond. Yeah. I loved that they brought in a replacement for 007. I thought it brought in, and this is going to get into what I wanted to talk about at like how this movie isn't a traditional Bond movie, right? Yeah.
So Bond starts off working for the CIA, and I thought that was such a smart choice because it's like we've seen him with MI6 the entire time, but what if he's like, no, fuck MI6. Felix needs my help. I'll help him out. I'll go with the CIA.
He's a fucking legend.
I know. And then he comes back to MI6 and he's like a hot shot, like, oh, they need me. And then and then he gets into like a shouting match with M. And it's like you haven't seen that dynamic with Bond and M before, where they actually are going at each other like, fuck you.
Oh my God.
And it's like so good.
So good. Like I loved this thing going on between, like, that MI6 had been doing some shady shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, what's going on? Yeah. And then, like, Q were trying to understand what the fuck is going on.
No, I know. I like that they turned M into, not necessarily evil, but his intentions are a bit more blurred and he made a bad decision. And now Bond's calling him out for it and he's like, well, you weren't there. I'm the leader. I made a decision. And, so they just have this, like, back and forth. That's really interesting. That is a dynamic we haven't seen before. And at the end of the day, Bond is being sent in to clean up M's mess, and he sacrifices himself to do that. And M has to live with that. So this is just such an interesting dynamic that feels so fresh between M and Bond.
Yeah.
But to go back to your question about the new 007, that was another thing that I loved that they introduced a replacement for Bond, and then it's kind of like this, like, oh, here's the new hot shot. This dynamic of being like kind of jealous of each other and then earning each other's respect. We haven't seen someone replace Bond before, so that's really fresh. So,
and I mean, she like my only thing or issue with her is that we didn't get to see enough of her. Like, I wanted her, she's a Bond. I wanted her to do some freaky shit. I wanted her to, like, kill someone in a cool way or, like, show off her skills that she's learned. But she didn't really get to do that other than, just one-handing an MP7 and just, like, popping some guys.
Her dialogue with Bond is great, but, like, she's not involved much in the action, which is interesting. And what I will say as well is that this movie brought on I forgot her name. No,
Armadiamus?
no. I'm talking about.
Or
I'm talking about.
the,
Just wait. Give me
the
one
blonde
second.
chick?
No. Why did I forget her name? Have you seen Fleabag?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Phoebe.
Unfortunately, this is first.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She is a fantastic
Oh.
British writer who wrote Fleabag and stars in Fleabag. She's very funny and probably, I'd say, one of the best writers working today. And she was heavily involved in punching the script up, making it more lively, giving depth to all of the characters. And I felt that with all of the dialogue scenes, the dialogue felt really like they were bouncing off each other. Like all of the characters had such a good dynamic and it felt so natural. And that's all thanks to her. And I think the dynamic between Bond and the new 007, who is Nomi, Bond and Nomi have a really good dynamic together. It's just that Nomi isn't in as many action sequences, which is interesting because Ana de Armas, you previously said, is in this movie just for one action sequence.
Like, but she's like, 3 weeks of training. Okay, sick. So you're gonna like just be, see her like smacking a vodka martini. Like, okay, great introduction to, she is way out of her depth. Yeah. But then, you put a gun in her hands and she's the absolute opposite. And even Bond remarks on that. So I'm like, okay, thank God that
they knew what they were doing.
This. Yeah, they knew. But so it was, towards the plot, I guess. Which you found
and it
out.
was just, for me, it was a really fun sequence.
Oh my God.
I thought it just brought, the movie was already fantastic, don't get me wrong, but it brought so much life into the movie when she was on screen and they had her and Daniel Craig had a great chemistry together. I was just surprised that you hire such a big actress just for this literally one sequence,
Yeah.
It kind of threw me a bit off.
I thought she was going to be in the movie longer, but then, I went when she was introduced to when she left, made absolute sense.
It made sense, of course. It made perfect sense for the movie. But it just was interesting that they, brought on such a big actress for that, just one small part. But I think the reason they did it was they needed Bond to have someone with him to counter the new 007, to counter Nomi. Because you can't have Nomi introduced as alongside Bond that early in the movie. So he needs someone else to play off. And Ana de Armas is a great choice for that. So that works quite well.
So my other thing that I wanted to talk about was the plot itself. So when with the scene with Arma Diamas, the Russian scientist tricks what's his name, the fucking Spectre head
Blofeld
guy, the guy in the eye, Blofeld. That he's putting in the thing to kill James Bond, right? He's putting in the USB, but he tricks it out so it kills all the Spectre. Why is Spectre being killed? I didn't understand that, and then I also didn't understand just how they. Well, I mean, I understood why they wanted to save Bond, but
I can answer that.
Yes, thank you.
I think the movie does a confusing job at explaining the bad guy who's played by Rami Malek, his name's Safin, explaining his, or at least making it clear how he can, infiltrate and get so deep into so many different things. He's kind of a lone wolf, but has, I'd say a great example of why it's confusing is there's a guy in the movie who, a henchman who's got a robotic eye, right? And he's working for Spectre and then he's working for Safin. And it's what? Which one is he working for? And it becomes really unclear. So I think the movie does do a bad job of making the boundaries clear between the different factions. But to answer your question, so the bad guy Safin, his family was murdered by Madeline's dad, who works for Spectre. Yeah. And now Safin's getting revenge on Spectre. He's now... So you see him at the start of the movie going to kill Madeline's dad, but if you've seen, any of the other Bond movies, you know that Madeline's dad's alive. So then... But you get to see how he, is going to try to kill, firstly him, and then how that mission would continue into killing all of Spectre. But Spectre's such a large organization, it's quite difficult for him to do that until he finds What's it called? It's not called Hercules. What's it called?
It
Heracles.
Heracles.
Heracles,
Yeah.
or something like that. Which is the kind of MacGuffin, the technological war.
Nanobots.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that is it's so close to being a virus that I think they had to reshoot the movie after the pandemic and remove it and change it to something that's not a virus.
Literally, because like
it's pretty
when
much a
they're
virus.
talking about viruses, when they're like, when you get to see this guy in the biolab being like, oh, I'll put some Ebola in your coffee and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. Like, I'm be interested to see how they solve it, but they do a good job because it ties into the plot very well.
They do a good job of trying to push it away from being a virus. And kind of, I do think it was originally definitely supposed to be a virus. But anyway, pandemic happened. They had to change that. But yeah, so then when Safin gets this nanobots, he's then able to take out the whole of Spectre very cleanly because they're celebrating Blofeld's birthday, which I thought was quite funny. Which was all a ploy to kill Bond, and then Safin's smart enough to intervene and kill everyone else. So he's doing that to get revenge for killing his family, right? And then his final target's Blofeld because he's the head of Spectre.
My God, that scene, the interrogation, like this was probably what made this movie. Honestly, just seeing, like, just that switch Bond made, like, from being like, Madeline fucking just left because she's like, I don't want to see this, which was like, oh, scary in itself, but fair enough. But like, just how Bond changes and that whole like, situation.
The Blofeld die.
Oh,
it's
masterpiece.
Because Bond is someone who, especially in Daniel Craig's run, appears to almost enjoy killing people. Borderline he does.
Yes.
And Spectre was all about him kind of maturing, and instead of killing Blofeld at the end of Spectre, he lets him be imprisoned, right? Which is growth for the character. But then this movie, he's essentially what Blofeld does is from prison, he realizes that Madeline wants Bond to get over Vesper, right? And is taking Bond to Vesper's grave. So now Blofeld's like, perfect. I can blow up Vesper's grave, and Bond will automatically assume, because he was betrayed by Vesper, that he was betrayed by Madeline, and then it'll go to shit, and Bond will ruin the relationship. And then Bond finds this out, that he's wasted 5 years with the love of his life because of Blofeld, and just fucking snaps.
Well, he's wasted like 5 years of his life without his love interest. And that, like, to me, was so fair enough. But I really did want him to just not touch him and be like, fucking shut up or something like that. But I mean, like, when he did,
it made sense with the story they're now telling, where, the title, my reading of the title is that it's not saying, because the Billie Eilish song goes, there's no time to die or whatever. There is no time to die. But in this movie, I don't think that's necessarily what the title means. I think it's kind of saying that it's not the right time to die, kind of thing. Like, it is no time to die. It's a bad time to die, because Bond now has everything he's ever wanted. He's got a love interest that's not dead. He's got a daughter. He now can. He's done being Bond. Spectre's dead. He can retire and go out with his family and just live a normal life now. He's got exactly what he wants, and he has to die instead. So I think with that story and that progression of him coming to terms with, like, oh, this is what my life is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be with Madeline. I'm supposed to, be with this family now. And I don't have a chance to do that. I thought, like, it's such a great way to send off the character. Like, he goes out being a hero, but it's such a bad ending for him in a way.
It sucks. Like, and that was probably what made this film honestly so good, was you actually like, fuck, that sucks so much for him, that he can't see his child and his, like, love interest, that he's literally just, for them to be alive, he just has to never see them. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, good on them for writing something like that, because that's great.
Yeah.
Like you want it to be a kick in the balls for the audience, because it was huge. And then that honestly caused him to be the hero who was like, fuck it, like
Yeah.
this is it, he's got me. But then let's also talk about how James Bond is immune to bullets, because in this film it seemed like he was.
He got
What
shot a
did you
lot.
think?
He did
He
get
did,
shot.
he
He got
did.
shot a lot. What I would say to that is that because it's at the end of the day, it's, an M-rated movie in Australia or PG-13 in
Yes,
America.
that's true.
You can't show much blood. So then they are limited in, like, they probably wanted to show how Bond just gets fucking destroyed,
Yeah.
but then they can't sell it because they can't have blood everywhere. So then it's this weird thing where he gets shot a lot, and then, especially at the very end of the movie, he gets shot a lot.
He get like literally not point blank, but like close enough to be like, come on. That was 3 shots, like on target.
He also, at the
and he's
start of
able
the
to
movie,
stand.
I remember this at the start of the movie, which, firstly, brilliant opener. It is probably the best James Bond opener.
Oh my God,
When he's
yeah.
in, I don't know where he is. It's somewhere in Europe, probably.
Italy, something, because they're all speaking Italian.
And, and after the grave explodes, he has like tinnitus in his ears and that, and he can't hear. And they go through like a whole kind of early action sequence where he's deaf, and it's so
my
cool.
God.
But
So good.
he does, because in his deafness, he doesn't see the guys coming behind him. He does get shot practically straight in the shoulder, and nothing happens.
Yeah,
So
he gets shot, but like to the audience, it seems like
it missed him.
that was like a bug or something. Like that's the reaction he had to it, and I was like, Christ.
Yeah, it was.
But I love that.
I think there's probably just a few like, continuity errors there that kind of happened where they were trying to do something to show how cool he is, and it kind of comes across like he's immune to bullets.
Yeah.
But you do see Bond finally like in a state where he is like on the level of like a John Wick or like Ethan Hunt from
definitely.
Mission Impossible, where he's a machine in this movie. The one shot is a great example. Like, he starts off by throwing a grenade up in the air. It then a million come back down, and he's like, fuck, he runs. He gets tinnitus in his ears again, has to continue the fight, and just like beat people up like barehanded.
Honestly, it was such a fucking good scene. Like, honestly, just how he was just mowing through cunts. He was honestly, and this in the stairwell. That was such a good. It reminded me of Casino Royale with the original, stairwell. But then there's another continuity error.
Yeah.
With the EMP on the watch.
He uses it twice, doesn't he? Or
Yes.
what are you saying?
So he blows the guy's eyeball out, right?
Yeah. Well, firstly, how did you feel about the magic eyeball? Because for me, it was like
it was fine.
It's a very James Bondy thing. It just doesn't feel.
You saw it multiple times,
but to me, it doesn't feel like a Daniel Craig James Bond thing. Like, it feels a bit like, go back to Casino Royale and imagine that some guy's got a robotic eyeball. It feels a bit weird. So that's my one complaint, is that the movie scales up so much from where it started with Casino Royale that it is quite ridiculous. And that eyeball is one of them. But anyway, please continue.
So, right, it blows the guy's eye out with the EMP. So it's electromagnetic pulse right on his fucking thing, on his hand, on his wrist. But he has an earpiece in, right? Because he's listening to the people, and that's exactly what I think I was sitting with Ferg. He said that he's like, why didn't his earpiece explode? Or just stop, right?
I did not think about that. I would say that's a bit of a nitpick.
Yeah,
because I don't think the average person would actually notice that. I mean, I didn't notice it. But you know what? You could probably explain it by saying Q is smart enough to, cover the earpiece in lead or something or whatever, and make the EMP redundant on the earpiece.
Yeah, because he did give him the watch.
That is a good continuity error. That might actually be something. But also just
that was it. That was it.
No, I mean, it's an incredibly well-made movie. They put a lot of effort into a lot of things. And I thought the ending, we've talked about James Bond dying, but right before that, he's confronting Safin, and firstly, just snaps the guy's arm. But I thought that was so good. Just like fucking snapping his arm.
Also, can we talk about Safin just like
In general?
leaving the child? Yeah.
Oh,
Like, that was very, like, you know, what movies was I going to compare that to, where the bad guy's got the child and then the child bites him and, like, the bad guy's like, just, like, goes insane. But Safin was just like, okay,
yeah.
fucking fine.
Yeah,
Just
no,
leave.
that's actually a good point. It completely subverts what you expect for him to lose his shit, and instead he goes, okay, if you don't want my help and protection, good luck.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Leave.
Go. And then she's just under a table and it's like, okay.
Because she had a great mother who taught her to hide.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, and then I loved, like, look, here's the thing with a Bond villain. I think a lot of them are just there to be, interesting to look at kind of thing. They're not necessarily compelling villains. Daniel Craig's Bond tried to change that. I mean, Le Chiffre in Casino Royale is great, and Silva in Skyfall is great.
Yeah.
But Safin in this movie, he serves a purpose. His character design's really cool, but I've got no fucking clue. Firstly, okay, he wants to kill all of Spectre because they killed his family.
Fair enough. That's fine.
Now, he wants to use the weapon, the nanobots, to just start killing people because he wants to tidy things up. What the fuck does that mean?
What does that mean? Like, James Bond's killing bad people. He's like, oh, all people are bad, so I'm going to kill everyone. It's like, I would have liked if he was just like, oh, we waste too much, because he had this guy.
Yeah, maybe make it a population thing, like population control.
Exactly, like fucking Thanos,
Yeah.
like something along those lines. We'd be like, okay, yeah, I understand that. That's fair enough.
I didn't. That was the one thing, is like I didn't understand his motivations. Like I thought the fact that he had the cool mask and the scarred face, that was all good. I liked how he manipulated Madeline. Like that scene was great, and I love that dynamic and how it then impacts Bond, because Bond's then like, you've given me a reason to kill him. Like I was already going to save the day, but now you've given me a reason to kill him, and it's like that line hits so hard because it's what they're doing with Bond in this movie is so cool and fresh.
Oh my god! Like just seeing this character kind of just have like this huge character arc just in this movie by itself was great, honestly. But I also wanted to talk about, this villain's origins, because where did he get this mask from? Like how did he become this trained killer? Like, I also would have liked to see, a proper fight other than I scratched you, you're fucking dead kind of thing.
I will say the scratch is heartbreaking because it's like, again, Bond now has everything he could ever want. And similar to how Blofeld kind of takes away from him temporarily. Yeah. Safin takes away from him permanently. Yeah. And it's so, like, Bond was already at the point where it's like, I've got to, blow up this island and I might need to stay back anyway. But now it's like, well, even if I made it off the island, I wouldn't be able to hang out with anyone because I'd kill them. And
he's like, lived that life for the past 5 years. So he's like, I mean, Jamaica's lovely. Catching fish and spearfishing is lovely, but it's not what I want now that I know that, like, I was wrong. Like he's fucked. So and that was why I think this send off was honestly worthy for Daniel Craig.
So emotionally impactful.
It's fucking beautiful.
It gave him everything he wanted and took it away from him.
Yeah.
And he was still a hero at the end of the day. He persevered through it and was like, I'm a hero. Like but he's not like, again, like he's not like just good. He's not ultimately like good. Like he enjoyed killing Safin. Like
he's chaotic good.
Yeah.
I'd say. But let's talk about just like, because there was some funny things in this film that I noticed. Like when I think it was Q, there was like, open the drawers up, there'd be guns and then, tools, and then there'd just be teapot. I saw that and I laughed out loud, like instantly. I was like, why? Why is there like,
because that's Q. He drinks tea. He's quirky.
I know, like, but it was just hilarious. Like, it was honestly hilarious. Also, with the new Bond as well, the new 007, like, again, on the fact that we did get to see too much of her. Like, she rocked up at the end of, Madeline and the daughter just being taken, right, in the new Aston.
Oh, I actually loved that. What I loved about it was that she lays like a dig at Bond, and because of what's just happened and how emotional this Bond is, he just has none of it. And I loved that. I was like, oh, I've completely misread the situation. And it's showing Bond in a very different way, where usually he would just laugh everything off, but now he's like you see how this like seriously affects him, having Madeline and having the daughter. It really like fucks him up in this movie, and it's so interesting.
It was a good chase, though.
I thought it was a bit funny that she came in so late. Like, you could have helped save
You're
us.
in an Aston. You're in an Aston. That's a fast car.
I do
that means you get there fast.
I do want to talk about the Aston Martins in this movie. So,
V8 Vantage, DB5.
So the V8 Vantage I thought was a great addition. I thought a great callback to Timothy Dalton, because that was his Bond, his spy car. But my question is, right? So we see in Casino Royale, he wins the DB5 at a poker game.
Yes.
But that car is left-hand drive. That car is left-hand drive. And then we see the Aston Martin DB5 in storage in Skyfall. That's right-hand drive. So it's not actually the same car. Okay? So we don't know how he owned an Aston Martin DB5, but he just did in Skyfall. They don't explain it. He just owns an Aston Martin DB5.
He's James Bond. What do you mean?
But sure, but he's not. He's earning, I don't know how much he's earning, but it can't be enough to afford a DB5.
1.7 million, I think they're valued at. Especially with miniguns in the front of it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, no, see, the Skyfall one is just a DB5, and then after it gets ruined in Skyfall, they then turn it into like a proper spy car for him as like a present, and they give it to him at the end of Spectre. But anyway, so that's his like DB5, yeah, sure. Now he goes back into storage and he's got a V8 Vantage. And it's like, how does this man have so many Aston Martins in storage?
But like the storage you saw, like M's dog, like the little pug that she had. So I thought it was gonna be like, he was just going in to have a look through files, but no, he got the V8 Vantage, and I was like, okay, so this is like M's storage unit, and she just has all the Aston Martins in the world. But
yeah, and then apart from like the Aston Martin we see at the start, the DB5 in that spy, in the spy chase scene, we don't get another kind of car chase in the movie, which I was
the Land Cruiser.
Oh, the Land Cruiser, yes. But I mean, I was hoping there would be one, because we also see the, like, I can't remember what the other Aston Martin is, but when M's on the phone to Bond, there's like just one of the fucking insane like hypercar Aston Martins, like one of the new ones that looks like a Le Mans racer.
Oh my god! In the like the air tunnel, whatever the fuck. Yeah.
So I was hoping we'd see like one of the new Aston Martins tricked out fully in a new kind of way in just one sequence, but we don't. It's just Naomi picking up Bond after the Land Cruiser. But the Land Cruiser section's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a little homage just because the colour of the Land Cruiser is a bit like yellowy. Do you remember, I think it was Roger Moore, one of his ones.
The Citroen?
Yes, the Citroen. Maybe that might be a homage to that because, like, he did have, in that one, he, tried to get in his Lotus and it exploded. So he had to go on the Citroen. In this one, he had the Vantage, but they're like, no, we'll choose the Land Cruiser. And it worked out for them insanely well.
I think it was because they couldn't put the kid in the back seat of like, because I think the Vantage probably only had 2 seats.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what did you think of the guy that was like, the guy that turned on them when Felix died? What?
Logan Ash?
Logan, yeah. Let's just call him Logan.
I liked him.
Logan Ash,
I liked him.
Because
I really liked him.
I remember
honestly.
when he was introduced, and it was just like straight away, I hated him. And then it was like, oh, that was the point. You're supposed to hate him because he goes bad. Mm-hmm. But then, again, it's an issue with the movie was he was working for Safin, But to
Yeah.
get Bond to go to the party where he was supposed to die, he would have also had to be working for Spectre. So does Safin have people in both throughout the entire movie, and that's the assumption? Like
I think so.
the Cyclops guy and Logan are both?
Actually, think about it. So he like seemed very very just, like not a good agent at all, smiling too much, just being so out of his element.
Yeah.
And that was similar to Armor. So that's why I think that she was also on like Safa's side and wanted him to survive,
Ooh.
right? And because
That's
like
interesting.
they wanted him to survive, and they were just Spectre agents, right, at the Spectre party. So like, okay, let's send in like our best
And
spy
what
or
if,
best,
Yeah, and it's just saying, just say you've only had 3 weeks practice and act super like inept
Exactly.
at the start.
Yeah, oh yeah, just similar to Logan. He was so inept. He was literally like, insanely out of his element. You saw him and you're like, this guy is an agent, no doubt. Armor was similar. I mean, the dress was so like, it's just like you should stand out in Cuba of all places, like where there's people with, straw hats and stuff that you're walking around. Like she was just in an amazing dress, like just chilling out. And yeah, she didn't seem
That is a very interesting fan theory. I think that could go a long way. And if that becomes like a big fan theory, it's because of this podcast. All right, remember us. If this becomes huge, if you steal it from us,
I'll fucking kill you.
good. I want to add one final thing that I thought was really interesting about this Bond.
Yeah.
Was it's very clear that James Bond is an alcoholic, but this movie fucking goes for it, right? He's just the scene with Ana de Armas where his first instinct when they reach the party is let's get a drink, and then midway through, okay, we found a breather. Oh, I'll have a drink, and then even when like getting the mission from Felix, oh, we got to talk somewhere. How about we go to a bar and let's have a drink? And it's just like he's drinking so much in this movie. And it's like, this character has flaws. He's like in previous Bonds where they would glorify his alcoholism. This movie shows it to you very bluntly that he needs to drink. Like he's an alcoholic. I just thought it was interesting. Like what they do with Bond in the Daniel Craig run is make you really question the character because he's not necessarily that like good of a person, yet we glorify him so much. And like Daniel Craig's Bond at the end of the day is a good person and we see him be a hero, but he's flawed. And I think that's a good that's just a good fresh take on the character.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I really agree. And it was, I think, and even the new 007 said, 4 hours without a drink. Like, they're even like giving him shit for it. But I don't have anything else really to add. Other than like, rip Felix. I mean, it was sad that he had
Rest
to
in
die.
peace, Felix. I mean, Felix will be back in another Bond movie, not played by Jeffrey Wright. I'm curious. Typically, they do keep the M and the Q and the money penny between a lot of the Bonds until they decide to quit. Do you think we'll keep those characters in the next Bond, or do you think it'll be a hard reset?
I don't think it will be a hard reset because they have been very, very good in all those roles. Like Q, M, or maybe M. Maybe. Like he
Ralph, you don't like Ralph Fiennes?
I mean, he's great, but like, he seems to be like coming to an end. And I did like the original M.
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench was just spectacular. But we'll see. We'll see.
I will say that, again, this is the first Bond series to have continuity, right? Casino Royale, we see Bond kind of become a 007, and then throughout the middle, we see him kind of transition into being the super spy. And now we see his ending, and he gets sent off. And, Sean Connery had a send-off with Never Say Never Again because he quit. And then they were like, he famously said, I'll never play the role again. And then they got him back in Never Say Never Again and remade Thunderball, like in the 80s when Roger Moore was Bond. And I think it was like when they were about to transition into Timothy Dalton or something. It was like around that time they brought Sean Connery back for just a one-off to kind of send him off, do a tribute. But it's not the same as this, where it's like, this is a story that is building towards this and then coming to an end with Daniel Craig, and we see Bond die, which we've never seen before.
No.
Right? And it's very fitting for Daniel Craig's Bond. Like going into this, knowing that Daniel Craig's Bond was the only Bond with continuity, it felt like, okay, they're probably going to kill him. And sure enough, they did. Like, earliest reports were suggesting that was the thing they were trying to do with this Bond, was they were going to kill him. And, you know...
They were trying so hard.
We got to kill him. And to be fair, considering that this Bond has been unique for having its story, it makes sense that you kill this Bond. And just definitive, this is it. This is the Bond that has continuity. But in the next Bond movie, I think go back to the way it was. No overarching story. Each movie just keeps just doing a new adventure with Bond and go back to what you were doing before, because otherwise you kind of take away from what Daniel Craig's Bond run has been. So I'm just cautious about that. And that's why I think it's okay if, like, Ralph Fiennes doesn't come back, because it's like, well, he belongs to this continuity. Like, sure, Judi Dench started with Pierce Brosnan, but it's a different M from Casino Royale. So let's kind of keep this continuity and maybe start fresh, but then, you know, just each movie's just a new adventure with Bond. Which, can I pitch my new Bond? Like, not the person, but just the story of what I imagine.
Okay, yeah.
So what I would do is I would do it set in the 60s. I would do a period piece, go back, and you could either do like a serious gritty take, but in the 60s, or what I'd rather is you go for it, make it ridiculous, give us that really, like, stylized, like, make it really stylized, kind of like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. kind of vibe.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You make it super stylized, everything stylized, set in the 60s. And then my really ambitious, like, what I would do is then each individual movie, you keep the same Bond actor and keep all the cast, but you set it in a different decade in each movie. So you start in the 60s to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and you kind of reinvigorate it each time by making it slightly different.
Because again, with, like, the whole time thing, it's easier to explain people's ambitions and motives, right? Like, it's easier to explain, like, a villain, right? Say in the 60s, because, like, I'm you know, what are you doing? What are bad people doing in the 60s? Like, we know what bad people are doing in the 60s. Like, it'd probably have something to do with drugs. Yeah. You know, something along those lines.
No, exactly. And No Time to Die, like, there's so many lines by M being like, you know, you used to be able to just get in a room and kill someone, and now you have to, like, it's all like, you don't know who the bad guy is and blah. And it's like, true, it's very difficult to do a spy movie now because of how fucking complicated the world is, right? Yeah. So it makes, that's why I think period piece, great idea. You just go back in time, simplify things, and just go fucking crazy with it. I think they need to do something, like, so bold with it next time. If we just get another dark, gritty reboot, I swear to God,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. We saw Timothy Dalton, dark, gritty reboot. Pierce Brosnan, let's just dark, gritty reboot the dark, gritty reboot. And then it goes super ridiculous towards the end, where you've got now an ice castle exploding with a sun laser, right? And then with Daniel Craig, dark, gritty reboot. And now it kind of went silly again, right, towards the end. So let's not do dark and gritty reboot again. Let's do something else.
Do funny and silly and, like...
enjoy it, you know? Anyway.
It's kind of turned into Spider-Man a bit with, like, James Bond. It's just been like, you know, everyone understands what James Bond is. I feel like now you just need to innovate on other, you know, parts about it. But yeah, very interesting take.
So let's just... let's end this off by saying that was our spoiler review, and we'll just quickly go through some of the choices for the next Bond and just see if we have any thoughts. There's a lot of people. So, okay, we got to start with the two most obvious ones, right? Idris Elba, he's the one everyone wants. I think fantastic choice, but they won't do it because he's too old. That's what I'll say.
I kind of agree. I honestly kind of agree. I mean, we've seen him in the Suicide Squad, and even then, like, he didn't seem like the agile, super spy type that Bond needs to be. I mean, like,
because
it's going to be difficult.
They want a Bond who can stick with the friend. Like Daniel Craig's been with it like for, I don't know, 15 to 20 years or whatever, right? So they need a Bond to stick with it for a long time. And unless they go the route of doing like a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 movie arc, but if they want to go for like the 5 movie arc over a long period of time, then Idris Elba's just too old. He'll be like 70 by the time you would end that. And that's not what they want. They want someone young who can stick with the franchise. But again, he's perfect for the role.
He is. Maybe you
do just like a Timothy Dalton kind of run, and you just do 2 or something. I mean, maybe that's the way you go next time. Maybe you just do a shorter one. Like, who knows? Okay, next one. Next most popular one. And this is like so insanely good. But like, they won't do it. And that's Henry Cavill. That is perfect.
That is so good. Oh my goodness. Like, that's what I was honestly thinking, because we've seen him in Mission Impossible.
And the Man from Uncle.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But like, just him with, I mean, his normal accent, because he's
because he's actually British.
He's actually British.
He's not Superman, but he's actually British.
Seeing him fight Mission Impossible, like, he was a force to be reckoned with. And that's what I missed from, I mean, like, seeing in No Time to Die. Like, yes, Bond is like, yeah, he's, good and all, but like, sometimes you just want to see someone that's just like physically bigger and better than the enemy, that it's just like the enemy are like, I'm not paid enough to do this. I'm sorry, I'm out. Like, just seeing Henry Cavill, like, fucking...
It'd be so good. At you. I don't think they'll do it for a very different reason. I think Henry Cavill's a lot younger, so maybe you could get away with it. But I do think they want to go really young with the next one. I think that's probably what they're going to go for.
Like a young rookie kind of thing.
I think Henry Cavill, despite being maybe a little bit too old for the role, I think they won't do it because of the baggage of him being Superman. I think that's just too much baggage. Yeah. That he was in this other franchise. I mean, it didn't pan out for him the way he wanted it to. But I think
they need someone new.
Yeah, I think they're going to go with someone who doesn't, like, he's not that well known, right? Like,
that'd be good.
So that's why, and that also feeds into Idris Elba. Despite him being perfect for the role too, he's too well known, I think. They want someone that they can turn into James Bond, not someone who's known for all this other work, right? Okay, now there's another one. I'm just going to call him the guy from Bridgerton. Have you seen Bridgerton?
No.
No, neither have I. Moving on.
Lovely.
Moving on. This list has Naomi from No Time to Die. Now, I think they could continue this franchise on and see this universe without James Bond, but I think we will see James Bond himself again, So I doubt they will go down this route, but they could. It depends. They could. I don't think they will, but they could. Okay, here's one. Henry Golding, right? The guy from Snake Eyes.
Yeah, okay.
No, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Maybe not.
Snake Eyes was so bad that it's tainted my perception on him. Maybe he is good, but Snake Eyes was so bad. Like,
it was, like, it just was very difficult to, put together. And I feel like, I mean, he was a good actor in it, but it just still, like, it does.
No. It also taints him. It taints him a bit. Like, the guy from Snake Eyes, you want that to be the next Bond?
Yeah.
Poor guy. No. He's probably a fantastic actor as well.
He is. Yeah.
And it's just ruined it with that one movie. Okay, moving on. This is the one that a lot of people talk about that I'm kind of like, no. And that's Tom Hardy. I don't think he's Bond. He's too, like, bare knuckle kind of, like, street, like, kind of vibe.
I just see him, like, good in, I mean, like, why was he in Mad Max Fury first of all? But that's all I, like, see him in. And, like, he is a really good actor.
He's a fantastic actor.
Some amazing movies that I still need to see. But, like, just for James Bond, I feel like he doesn't have that vibe. You know what I mean?
Just
like, he's a bit too, like, Oh fuck! I've worked so hard. Or, well, I'm trying to think of what else
Well,
he's been in that have like remind me of. Oh, they could be a Bond, but like no,
no,
he
I
just
mean he does play. There's been like, see, I haven't seen him in any of the roles where he's tried to, like, where he's been wearing a suit and it's all like proper, like whether it's being posh or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
I haven't really seen him in any of those roles. The roles I see him in, it's the roles where he's like this tough kind of street level kind of more
Yeah.
dirty kind of guy, and that's not really Bond, you know. But they could take it in that direction. But again, I don't think they're going to go again with someone like Tom Hardy who's got a massive following already.
yeah,
It just seems so unlikely.
yeah. I agree.
Have you seen 1917?
Yes.
I haven't.
have.
The guy from
should say.
1917. I don't know which one, but one of them.
That helps. I mean, there was a lot of guys because it's World War One, and there were no women there.
No.
So
No.
yeah, that.
Okay,
that, you know,
I'll just rattle off some of the ones I've been thinking of. What about if you go? What if you did like Tom Holland?
I could see that. I could definitely see
Really?
that. I could see him in a suit. He's like, because he's nimble.
Yeah.
And that's what you think of a secret agent. They're very nimble, they're very fast, they're very agile. You know, and that's why I feel like Henry Cavill would just be like fun.
Yeah.
It's like he's not, but he's a tank.
He's a tank.
But yeah, like I feel like that would work more than Tom Hardy.
It'd be a very different Bond. It'd be very very different. I was saying that more as a joke because I don't think because have you seen the trailer for Uncharted?
Yes.
That
yeah, I
kind of
have.
has made me lose faith in Tom Holland to do anything but Spider-Man. So
Yes.
I don't know. Another
he
Tom
doesn't
though.
really
What about
suit that?
Tom Hiddleston?
Yes.
Yes?
Like 100%. I think that, well, how old is he? He's a bit older now. Like,
Yeah.
he's around like, how old is
I
he?
actually don't know.
Okay.
He's
Well,
probably in his like mid-30s maybe.
yeah.
But I do think they want to go like late 20s. Like I think they want to go
Yeah.
like Robert Pattinson's the youngest Batman yet, and he's like early 30s. I think they want to do something like that where it's like you get someone really young because then like Daniel Craig had so many health issues throughout his Bond movies that pushed like the gap between Bond movies in his run is the longest because he just kept getting injured.
Yeah.
So it's a very physically demanding role, and that's why I think maybe you get someone really young who can do all those stunts. And when you get someone young, like we saw Daniel Craig become Bond in Casino Royale, but you don't need to do that again. You can just have them be young and just say they were hot shot and quickly rose to the top or something.
Exactly. They always figure it out.
Do you have any suggestions off the top of your head?
I was thinking like this is weird, but Chris Hemsworth's younger brother.
Liam.
Yes, I was thinking him because he is young. He's kind of unknown, or he's known, but he's unknown. He's got good acting because Chris is good acting. But yeah, I feel like he could pull off a pretty good British accent. And
Well, there has been an Australian Bond in the past, George Lazenby, so we shouldn't rule out any Australians. I actually think, I think he's had a bad run of it being an actor. Like, he's just known as the guy from the Hunger Games, or is known as, just like you said, Chris Hemsworth's brother. So he's had a bad run of it. But maybe that's a left field choice that could actually really work out.
Oh yeah, he's a good looking bloke.
Yeah.
Like he's honestly a good looking bloke.
I could see him
and
as a James Bond type.
he's big. That's all you need.
Well, yeah, I mean, pump him full of steroids like Chris Hemsworth, and he can get jacked.
oh yeah.
So that's an interesting choice. Do you have any others?
That's all I've really thought of because I mean, other than I was thinking
That is a good
definitely
one.
Tom Holland and Tom Hiddleston as well. But yeah, that's really
Or
it.
the last one before I get into the one I want to end on. Icarus from Eternals. He's also been thrown his hat in the ring to be the next one.
Yeah, okay. I would see him more as like he honestly reminded me of like just someone in the Marvel universe, like as another like superhero, like alongside just Captain America. That's who I saw him
Like a
as. I was
side
like,
character, like
yeah,
not like a
exactly.
leading
I was
man.
like, because you're just a brown head with a beard, like
guy.
buff dude. Like, this. I feel like they do need someone with like some sort, like Daniel Craig who's blonde. That was a bit different.
No, I can't
guess.
believe that at the time people lost their shit because Daniel
Yeah.
Craig had blonde hair. Like, and now we're at the point where people are talking about like a black Bond or a woman Bond, and
Like
that's so
chill.
funny that like literally like
Yeah.
when the last Bond was cast, people lost their minds because he had blonde hair.
Like,
That's so funny. I do want to end on that. I do think the next Bond should have some level of diversity. I think if you're not going to cast someone
That's
diverse in
true.
the role, then at the very least, I think Bond is a character that is so hypersexual that he's probably just bisexual. Like he probably would fuck anything, right?
That's true.
So that would be such an interesting way because essentially he fucks women just to. Well, he likes it, but it's also to get information. Let's say. But what if the target's
That's
a
true.
man and you have a hypersexual character who swings both ways? Like I think that's an easy way of making Bond diverse if they don't cast someone diverse in the role. But I do think we've had enough, straight white dudes that we can probably let's see something else next time.
You're honestly right.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
but a diverse choice here. So of course, Red Notice came out last week on Netflix, and it's apparently I haven't seen it. Apparently, it's similar in maybe some sort of aesthetics to James Bond. And Dwayne the Rock Johnson said he's throwing his hand up. He's saying, "Guys, I want to be the next James Bond." What do you think of Dwayne the Rock Johnson as the next James Bond?
What are you doing to me? This is torture. Why would you taint this amazing role with the likes of Dwayne the Rock Johnson?
Imagine him doing a British accent.
Oh man, that's just not gonna work. There's no way. If that happens, I will eat my shoe. I will literally eat my shoe.
I think that's a fairly safe bet.
Yeah, but guys, I'm gonna put my hand up. You know, I'm gonna put my hand up. I'm not gonna get it, fella. I'm gonna put my You got damn right. You're not gonna get it because you're fucking
respect the grind, all right?
Yeah.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson does what he wants to do. If he wants to be president, he's gonna be president.
Fine, as long as he's good.
I'd rather him as
president
president of the United States than James Bond.
than an actor.
Frankly.
To be fair.
But that's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for listening / watching. We're a podcast now on wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube, a podcast now,
On the internet.
at a pod now on Instagram and TikTok. And next week we have a few options. So a lot of movies came out on streaming that we could catch up on.
Yes.
Red Notice, Shang-Chi, and The Green Knight. We might do one of those three. And also next week, Last Night in Soho comes out in theaters, which is Edgar Wright's new movie, of course, from Baby Driver.
Yes.
Scott
Hot
Pilgrim.
Fuzz.
Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy. Very acclaimed director. So if we can head out to a theaters, we might do that. But plenty of options either way. So it's going to be a fun one. And if you haven't seen last week's episode, we had just a huge drunken rampage talking about Eternals. And it was so much fun. And we did it in person.
It was great.
So if you haven't seen that episode, go watch that because that was a real blast. So that's us this week.
Yeah. See you later. I love you. Bye-bye.
I love you all so much. Goodbye.